Lord Strathcona's Horse is a regular armoured regiment of the Canadian Army. Currently based in Edmonton, Alberta, the regiment is part of 3rd Canadian Division's 1 Canadian Mechanized Brigade Group. Members of the regiment are commonly called Strathconas or Strats as a short form. It was one of the last regiments in the British Empire to be created and raised by private individual Donald Alexander Smith, 1st Baron Strathcona and Mount Royal. The regiment is currently composed of a regimental headquarters and 4 primary squadrons: A, B, Reconnaissance and Headquarters. In September 2006, B Squadron deployed to Afghanistan using the Leopard C-2, the first NATO deployment of main battle tanks to Afghanistan. Each year, the squadron that distinguishes itself with the highest efficiency rating in the regiment earns the title Prince of Wales Squadron. For the year, the regiment has 7 affiliated cadet corps in Alberta and British Columbia. Lord Strathcona's Horse operates with 40 Leopard 2s and 12 Coyote reconnaissance vehicles. Due to a change in Canadian Army doctrine in the early 2000s away from heavy armour to more infantry-centred operations, Lord Strathcona's Horse was for several years the only regular armoured regiment to operate MBTs. This was until the 2006 announcement that the Royal Canadian Dragoons would be re-equipped with a squadron of Leopards. The regimental motto is Perseverance. The current commanding officer is Lieutenant Colonel Mark Lubiniatsky and the regimental sergeant major is Chief Warrant Officer R.J. Clark MMM. The Colonel-in-Chief of the regiment is Charles, Prince of Wales, while the honorary colonel of the regiment is Colonel Greg Hugg. Lineage originated the 1st of July 1901 in Winnipeg, Manitoba as an independent permanent active militia corps of mounted rifles, designated as a squadron. The Canadian Mounted Rifles redesignated the 1st of October 1903 as the Royal Canadian Mounted Rifles, redesignated the 1st of October 1909 as Strathcona's Horse, redesignated the 1st of May 1911 as Lord Strathcona's Horse, redesignated the 16th of October 1946 as the 2nd Armoured Regiment RCAC, redesignated the 2nd of March 1949 as Lord Strathcona's Horse, redesignated the 19th of May 1958 as Lord Strathcona's Horse. Perpetuation. South Africa Strathcona's Horse of 1901. Operational history. South African War. Strathcona's Horse was authorized on 1 February 1900 and embarked for Africa on 17 March 1900. There it fought as part of the 3rd Mounted Brigade and 4th Infantry Brigade, 2 Division, until its departure from the theatre of operations on 20 January 1901. The unit disbanded on 9 March 1901. The Great War. The regiment was placed on active service at the start of the Great War on 6 August 1914 for instructional and camp administration duties. On 14 September 1914 the regiment mobilized Lord Strathcona's Horse CEF, which embarked for England on 3 October 1914. On 5 May 1915 it disembarked in France, where it fought dismounted in an infantry role with Seeley's detachment, 1st Canadian Division. On 27 January 1916, the regiment remounted and resumed its cavalry role as part of the 1st Canadian Cavalry Brigade, with whom it continued to fight in France and Flanders until the end of the war. The Overseas Regiment disbanded on 6 November 1920. The Second World War. On the 24th of May 1940, regimental headquarters and one squadron were mobilized together with the regimental headquarters and one squadron of the Royal Canadian Dragoons, to form the 1st Canadian Motorcycle Regiment, CASF. It was redesignated as Lord Strathcona's Horse, CASF, on the 21st of September 1940, as the 2nd Armoured Regiment, CASF, on the 11th of February 1941, as the 2nd Armoured Regiment, CASF, on the 15th of October 1943, and as the 2nd Armoured Regiment, CASF, on the 2nd of August 1945. The regiment embarked for Britain on the 13th of November 1941 and landed in Italy on the 8th of November 1943, where it fought as part of the 5th Armoured Brigade, 5th Canadian Armoured Division. On the 16th of February 1945, the regiment moved with the 1st Canadian Corps to Northwest Europe as part of Operation GOLDFLAKE, where it fought until the end of the war. The Overseas Regiment was disbanded on the 1st of March 1946. On the 1st of September 1945, a second active force component of the regiment was mobilized for service in the Pacific Theater of Operations, designated as the 2nd Armored Car Regiment, RCAC-CASF. It was redesignated as the 2nd Armored Regiment, RCAC-CASF, on the 1st of March 1946, and on the 27th of June 1946 it was embodied in the Permanent Force. Korea, the UN and NATO, A, B and C squadrons fought independently in Korea from the 19th of April 1951 to the 27th of July 1953 as part of the 25th Canadian Infantry Brigade Group, 1st Commonwealth Division. The squadrons were equipped with M4A3EH Sherman tanks, Lord Strathcona's Horse, along with the Royal Canadian Dragoons, contributed troops to 56 Recce Squadron for duty with the United Nations Emergency Force from March 1957 to January 1959, equipped with Ferret Scout cars. The battle captain, Captain Norman A. Shackleton, the 1st Troop Leader, Lt. C.C. Van Strabensee, and the 3rd Troop Leader, Lt. F.G. Woodrow, as well as half of the NCOs and soldiers, were Strathconas. 2 members of 56 Recce Squadron died, Lt. Charles C. Van Strabensee on the 10th of May 1957 and T.P.R. George E. McDavid on the 29th of November 1957. Other squadrons of the regiment served there and in Cyprus. T.P.R. Reginald J. Wiley died on UN duty in the Sinai on the 7th of September 1961. The Strathconas' last deployment to Cyprus took place from August 1988 to March 1989. The regiment served 2 tours of duty in Germany as part of Canada's contribution to NATO, equipped with Centurion tanks. During the 1990s, the regiment deployed to the former Republic of Yugoslavia twice as part of the United Nations Protection Force and once as part of NATO's Stabilization Force, largely equipped with the AVGP Cougar armored car. Afghanistan. The Strathconas contributed several tank squadrons as well as reconnaissance personnel to the various Canadian task forces that served in Afghanistan from 2002 to 2014. T.P.R. Michael Yuki Halukazi was killed on action in Afghanistan on the 2nd of March 2008. History. The regiment was one of the last in the British Empire to be created and raised by a private individual, Donald Alexander Smith, 1st Baron Strathcona and Mount Royal. During the Boer War, Lord Strathcona recruited and equipped the cavalry regiment at his own expense for service in South Africa. Many skilled horsemen enlisted, allowing for a short training period and rapid deployment to Africa. The 500 337 officers and men, as well as 599 horses, of the new regiment sailed from Halifax on 18 March 1900 and arrived in Cape Town on 10 April. Along with the Royal Canadian Dragoons, the regiment won renown for the scouting skills. Rumor exists that members of the Northwest Mounted Police serving with the regiment during the Boer War preferred the boots the regiment wore, and adopted them as their own, hence the name Strathcona boots for Royal Canadian Mounted Police high brown boots. Another legacy of the official kit is the huge popularity of the distinctive Stetson campaign hat worn by all Canadians serving in Africa during the Second Boer War. After seeing Canadian troops in this attire at the relief of Mafeking, British officer Robert Baden-Powell ordered 10,000 of the hats for his own troops. Supposedly General Kitchener was astonished at the size of the newly arrived Canadian soldiers. The commander, Sam Steele, is said to have replied, "My apologies, sir. I combed all of Canada and these are the smallest I could find." After the war, the regiment boarded ship at Cape Town on 20 January 1901 and arrived in London on 14 February. Here they met Lord Strathcona for the first time and were presented the medals by King Edward VII personally. On its return to Canada on 9 March 1901, the regiment was disbanded. The name Strathcona's Horse was revived in 1909 when the Royal Canadian Mounted Rifles was renamed Strathcona's Horse. The word Lord was appended to the regimental title in 1911. At the outbreak of the First World War, the regiment was mobilized and began its training in England. In 1915, Lord Strathcona's Horse served as infantry in the trenches in France. On 16 February 1916, the Strathconas were reconstituted as a mounted force and, as an Imperial Service Regiment, served in the Canadian Cavalry Brigade attached to the 2nd Indian Cavalry Division, which in November 1916 became the 5th Cavalry Division of the British 4th Army. In March 1917, the regiment saw action as cavalry during the defense of the Somme front. It was during this fighting that Lieutenant Frederick Harvey won the Victoria Cross for rushing a German machine gun post and capturing the gun position. In spring 1918, during the last great German offensive, called by the Germans Operation Michael, when the Imperial and French armies were on the verge of being split, the regiment earned its 3rd Victoria Cross. On 31 March 1918, in what is known as the last great cavalry charge at the Battle of Moroi Wood, Lieutenant Gordon Flowerdew was posthumously awarded the Victoria Cross for leading the charge in a successful engagement with entrenched German forces. Nearly three-quarters of the Canadian cavalry involved in the attack against German machine gun positions were killed or wounded. Unable to break the trench deadlock and of little use at the front, cavalry remained behind the lines for much of the war. During the German offensives of March and April 1918, however, the cavalry played an essential role in the open warfare that temporarily confronted the retreating British forces. During the Second World War, the regiment mobilized an armoured regiment for overseas service, which joined the 1st Canadian Armoured Division. During an inspection in England, King George VI noticed that the divisional patches on the sleeves of the troopers bore the legend LSH. He remarked to a Strathcona's officer that he had always thought the proper abbreviation of Lord was LD. The regiment promptly changed its formation patches and have used the correct designation ever since. One of the many dramatic changes World War I introduced into military organization and technology was the introduction of the tank. However, Canada would persist with horse cavalry until the summer of 1940. The regiment did have a Ford and a Chevrolet armored car, representing 50% of Canada's entire armored strength at the start of the Second World War. In July 1940, LDSH along with the Royal Canadian Dragoons were mobilized as the 1st Canadian Motorcycle Regiment. Later that year, the Strathconas became 2nd Armoured Regiment, Lord Strathcona's Horse. The regiment trained in England for 2 years with Canadian-built ram tanks and saw its first action in an armoured role in Italy. One of the regiment's most noteworthy battles in Italy was the Melfa River crossing. During this desperate battle, the Strathcona RHQ reconnaissance troop established a bridgehead in conjunction with A Company, the Westminster Regiment on the Melfa River, and held it against determined German tank and infantry attacks until reinforcements could arrive. The action resulted in a Victoria Cross being awarded to the OCA Company. Major Jack Mahoney and forged a long-standing association between the two regiments. The advance up the boot of Italy bloodied the regiment but also forged their identity as a Canadian tank unit second to none. The regiment left Italy in February 1945 and fought in the Northwest Europe campaign to liberate the Netherlands and the Lowlands. In 1946, the regiment returned to Canada and, except for 2 operational tours in Germany, called Calgary its home garrison. During the Cold War, the regiment was deployed on several rotations to West Germany, and 3 squadrons fought in rotation in the Korean War as part of the 1st Commonwealth Division. Originally intended to be equipped with M10 tank destroyers, the Strathconas in Korea went into action with M4A3EH Sherman tanks. Other deployments include 2 6-month missions in Bosnia, 1994 with the United Nations, and 1997 with NATO. In 2002, the reconnaissance squadron participated as part of the Canadian Battle Group during the US-led invasion of Afghanistan. The squadron returned to Kabul, Afghanistan for a 6-month rotation in 2004 as part of Canada's ongoing commitment to the International Security Assistance Force. Since September 2006, various squadrons of Lord Strathcona's Horse have served continuously in Afghanistan, forming the basis of every tank squadron to serve as part of Task Force Kandahar. In 2000, to commemorate the centenary of its original foundation, a mounted detachment of 18 members from Lord Strathcona's Horse was invited to London, where, in ceremonial full dress, they mounted the Queen's Life Guard at the Horse Guards on 7 days between 8 and the 23rd of September. This was a very great honor, as they were the first overseas unit ever to have mounted the Queen's Life Guard at the Horse Guards. The freedom of the city was exercised by Lord Strathcona's Horse in St. Albert, Alberta, on June 11, 2011. Battle Honours. In the list below, battle honours in capitals were awarded for participation in large operations and campaigns, while those in lowercase indicate honours granted for more specific battles. Those battle honours in bold type are emblazoned on the regimental guide. South African War, South Africa, 1900 1901. Great War, Second World War, Korea 1951 to 1953. Afghanistan, Victoria Crosses, Lieutenant Gordon Muriel Flower Dew, VC. Lieutenant Frederick Morris Watson Harvey, VC, CBE, MC, Croix de Guerre, Sergeant Arthur Herbert Lindsay Richardson, VC. Heraldry and Dress, Badge Armorial Description, Lord Strathcona's coat of arms, without supporters, being a shield surmounted by a maple tree inclined to the left, and cut through by a beaver working at the base. In the chief a demi-line ramp, and in the centre a railroad spike and hammer crossed. In the base a canoe bearing a flag inscribed NW and containing 4 men, the whole surrounded by a reband which is encircled encircled by a wreath of roses, thistles, shamrocks and maple leaves, and inscribed Lord Strathcona's Horse, Royal Canadians, surmounted by a scroll bearing the motto Perseverance, and the whole surmounted by the crown. This badge commemorates Lord Strathcona's role in the fur trade and in the settlement of northwest Canada by its representation of a Hudson's Bay Company trade canoe, the flag, NW, and the representation of the railway construction tools. The latter mark Lord Strathcona's direct role in the construction of the Canadian Pacific Railway. Shoulder title: Strathconas, LDSH full dress uniform, scarlet, facings, myrtle green, headdress, dragoon helmet with red and white plume, tartan. Service dress, P. Canadian Forces pattern service dress, with collar badges of the Strathcona coat of arms. The pipes and drums. Although the 2nd Battalion, the Royal Canadian Regiment, maintains the only pipes and drums in the regular army, Lord Strathcona's Horse also maintains its own pipes and drums. The difference between the two is that the 2RCR pipes and drums is funded directly by the battalion, while the LDSH pipes and drums is funded by the Regimental Society. As such, the pipes and drums is a voluntary band that consists of both members of the regiment and outside volunteers. Lineage. The lineage of Lord Strathcona's Horse. Cadets. There are several Royal Canadian Army Cadets units spread across Alberta, British Columbia and the Northwest Territories which are affiliated to the Lord Strathcona's Horse. Cadets are not soldiers, they are part of an organization dedicated to developing citizenship and leadership among young men and women aged 12 to 18 years of age with a military flavor, and are not required to join the Canadian Forces. Cadet units affiliated to the LDSH receive support and also are entitled to wear traditional regimental accoutrements on the uniforms. Order of precedence. Alliances. United Kingdom, the Queen's Royal Lancers. Poland, 10 Armour Cavalry Brigade. Regimental Museum. The Military Museums. Media. Lord Strathcona's Horse, a pictorial history by Ian D. Henry, Sean Snell, Mike J. Barnes. Lord Strathcona's Horse, a record of achievement by Lieutenant Colonel J. M. McCavity. The Story of a Regiment. Lord Strathcona's Horse. Strathcona's Horse, South Africa, 1901 by Lord Strathcona's Horse Regimental Society. Stand to Your Horses through the First World War 1914 to 1918, with Lord Strathcona's Horse by Captain S. H. Williams.